Good morning. Hello, friends. How are you? Happy Thursday. Happy to be with you today. My name is Tiffany Hellman, and I am the owner of Lone Orange, where we help service based, impact driven solopreneurs find fulfillment and success by growing a thriving business. Fulfillment and success, they can coexist. You can have a fulfilling life and fulfilling business and have success and have that thriving business. So that's what we do. And I want to talk to you a little bit about even what does that mean in today's virtual world. So I see we have a couple of live viewers. Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me live. If you're watching live, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section, and I'll try to keep an eye on those today. If you're watching replay, make sure that you type replay and let me know that you're here because I'm glad I want to come back and say hi. So, what a world we're living in, right? So we have been in quarantine for about, I think, 6 or 7 weeks now, and different parts of the country, different parts of the world are in different stages of that quarantine due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So that has changed the look of business, hasn't it? So how are you doing? How are you doing running your business virtually? We've all been forced into going 100% virtual, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I would be honored if you would share this video so that other people can hear this as well and can learn about running their business virtually. Because guess what? We're all doing it right now. So the traditional business, all businesses are being forced in to find ways to be virtual and to operate virtually. So how before all this happened, how were you operating? Were you already 100% virtual? Were you partially virtual? Were you pretty traditional and very little virtual at all? There's always email and that sort of thing, but other than that, everything was done much more traditionally. So where were you at? I'd love if you're watching this live or on replay, go ahead and type that in the comments. Where were you before pandemic hit? And where are you now? Well, I know where you are now because we're all 100% virtual. We can't be doing business together in the same room. So, what does that look like for you? Has that changed much or is it pretty much status quo? I just heard from one of the members in the How to Run Your Business Virtually Facebook group where they've been pretty much status quo. She's got an accounting firm, so shout out to Pooley Accounting and Louise Pooley. And thank you for your comment this morning. But they have been pretty much status quo. In fact, they've gotten busier. Now, this is a good time for accountants and bookkeepers to get busy, but with taxes that having just passed and that sort of thing. But because she had built a virtual team, and I believe they were largely virtual. I know in the past they'd done some some in-person things, but because they were already doing that, they've done pretty well. The biggest challenge, of course, is balancing other people at home, which has been probably our biggest challenge in my house as well. Just making sure everybody gets their work done and gets their needs met. But other than that, I was 100% virtual. I guess I can't say 100%. I was probably 90% virtual. Everything is done virtually, but I do still do some in-person networking. So, what does working virtual even mean? Hey, Carrie, welcome. Yeah, you guys were transitioning to working from home before all this started. So hopefully you kind of had that infrastructure. But yeah, how is that working for you guys now? I know it's probably very different. Did that help the transition or hurt the transition? um, but so let's talk about what even working virtually means. So there's a lot of ways that business operate. Their back office operations, their how to reach clients, their networking, all of those are things that we need to pay attention to when thinking about running virtually. And basically, when I started my business, I wanted to be the doer. I just wanted to do the work for my clients. I wanted to work from home. I did not want to have any employees or team members. I just wanted to communicate with my clients via email and maybe I do a little networking to try to find some new clients and to try to make some connections. But as I grew, I realized that there was only so much I can do. there was only uh, I had a capacity that of the amount of work that I could do, and therefore the amount of money that I could make. And I could serve people so much better if I grew a team, which I did not want to do when I started my business. So I set out on this mission to start growing this business virtually, and I was told it wasn't going to work. Now, this was since a few years ago. So I started my business 10 years ago. So maybe 8 years ago, people were telling me it's too hard to grow a graphic design branding firm virtually. It's too hard to manage people. It's too hard to stay productive. It's too hard to communicate. People kept telling me it couldn't be done. Well, when somebody tells me it can't be done, I dig my feet in, and I was determined to figure it out because I knew that for my company, for my business, for my life, the life I wanted to have, I wanted to be able to work from home. I wanted to have the freedom and the flexibility and the financial stability for my family and for myself, but still have a thriving company and help solopreneurs grow their businesses. So I was bound and determined to figure it out. So that's what we've done. I work from home. I am 45 minutes from the nearest large city, and that's where I do online networking. So I don't travel into town a whole lot, into the city, as I call it. But so I do everything from home. And um, but now, so everything except my networking. Now even my networking is from home, obviously. So how many virtual meetings have you attended? Like, that has been really interesting to see. Networking meetings. I attended a 3-day virtual conference last week. That was powerful. It was exhausting. The conferences are always exhausting, but it was amazing to see how they were able to still have the engagement and the enthusiasm and the excitement from the speakers as well as from the participants, and how was still able to network, still able to get to know some people, um, and connect, which was pretty amazing to see how all that was done virtually. I've attended networking meetings, I've attended educational meetings, so I've spent a lot of time on Zoom, but it's all been done virtually. So Carrie says, in response to my question about how their transition in a virtual world. So they were getting ready to transition before the pandemic hit, and so I asked her how it was going, and did this affect it more? It's been good. Just can't travel to clients, right? That's hard. Those meetings are now on Zoom, which has saved us money, which is interesting. Like, that's going to be an interesting side effect, I think, of this. Now that companies are seeing how we can do things more efficiently, more cost effectively, I'm wondering how much of this is going to stick around, which is the perfect segue. So thank you, Carrie, for your comment, which is the perfect segue because what is this going to look like? So some states and counties are starting to open up slowly but surely. I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that this is going to be a slow lift. They're still talking about new waves of the virus hitting. So we don't really know what to expect, but at some point, we will be operating differently than we are right now. And we will also be operating differently than we were before. Hmm. So, what are you thinking about what things are going to look like for how you're operating in the future when, let's just say, for conversation, when everything is lifted, when there are no more restrictions and we are free to roam around the country, as Southwest says, what's that going to look like? Are you going to be able to take some of what you've learned in this virtual world into your business, and adapt that as a more normal, traditional, standard part of your business? Are you going to be able to use Zoom more often to meet with clients? What I'm finding interesting is that I love Zoom because, as I said, I wanted to be a virtual company. Um, and so every time when I would try to meet with people by Zoom, there was some resistance. And I get it. Like, meeting in person is always nicest. But for me, to be most efficient, it was better for me to meet on Zoom so I didn't have to travel, an hour and a half, spend an hour and a half in the car. But now people are being forced into figuring this out and getting comfortable with Zoom. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that translates to post pandemic times. So be thinking about that now. How can you be operating more efficiently, more effectively now in a virtual world? And what are some of those things that you want to take with you into the post pandemic world? So here's some things that we need to consider when moving our business virtually. So first of all, I would love for anybody live or watching a replay to share what are your biggest questions or concerns or doubts or curiosities about running a business virtually now or even post pandemic. Like what are you kind of going, how is that going to work? How are we going to make that work? What I think is interesting is because of the times we're in, we're having to get creative. And I think the way to look at it is, what do we want to achieve by whatever project we're doing? And how can we still achieve that same result just virtually? And I think the perfect example of that is the virtual conference that I attended, the virtual networking meetings. If when they're looking at, well, we still want people to connect, we still want people to learn, we still want people to find people in the room that they want to talk to, that they're finding virtual ways to do that, which is very cool. So here's some things that we need to be thinking about though when we're operating virtually. um, First of all, do you think that it is possible? Do you want to operate your business 100% virtually? Is it possible? Is it possible to scale your business, to grow your business beyond you, or to have more clients? Is it possible? I believe yes. And so here are the things we need to look at. First thing, there's a few things that you've got to do for your own business first. Is the first thing is to be clear on who you are. I think this is critical for any business, but especially for small businesses and solopreneurs. Be very clear on who you are, because that's going to guide and direct so much, and it's going to keep you from doing things that you shouldn't be doing, making decisions and going directions that you shouldn't be doing. So being clear on who you are, being clear on who you serve and what problem you solve for them. Are you clear on those things? If not, now is the perfect time to really dig into those things and think about those things. We spend a lot of time on on just those topics in the Scale Your Brand method, because they are so crucial and so meaningful as the base and the foundation of the business to grow everything else on. So first of all, making sure you've got that. Then being able to um, have your systems documented. Now, blah, blah, blah. Systems, we always hear document your systems, document systems, which is, I spent many years going, okay, but what does that mean? Like, I don't know. What am I supposed to document? Because it was all up in here. So thinking through what kind of client experience do you want your clients to have? How are your clients being served? How do you want them to be served? And how do you want to make that consistent and powerful and predictable and scalable? So those are the things to start thinking about. Now it is a matter of pulling it out of your head, right? And I think the place to start is thinking about that client service. When you are actually delivering your product, start there first, because that is going to be that most important touch point with a client. Everything else will flow from there. So the other thing is to think about when we're working virtually, communication. How are you going to communicate with your clients, with your team? How are you going to hire the right team? How are you going to get team members who can work virtually? Because once you have a team, if you don't have one now you've got to worry about management and oversight and productivity, and you can't be in the same room or the same office with them to watch what they're doing, or see that they're not standing at the water cooler half the day, or on the phone, or playing on their phone or whatever. So it's really important that you are hiring properly. But it's possible. It is absolutely 110% possible to find the right people who can scale your business, even in a virtual world, even in a virtual business. And that's important. And that's all part of what we talk about in that Scale Your Brand method, is figuring out how to get those right people and systematize that process so that you're not reinventing the wheel all the time, but also having those core values and knowing that they're aligning with who you are. All that's critical, but it can so benefit your business by having the right people. But even looking at what kind of team members. Now, here's the thing. It is very tempting as small business owners, and especially solopreneurs, to go, "Oh my gosh, I need help, I need help, I need help," and go out and get all the help and hire all the help right now. That's not sustainable in general. Unless you have a windfall of money, that's not going to be sustainable. So being very clear and systematic, methodical is probably a better way about looking at what are those things that you can delegate and need somebody else to come in and do for you so that you don't go out there and hire a virtual assistant and a business manager and a marketing manager and a social media manager and scheduling and calendar help. Like there's a way to build that in. There's not a set way, but it's looking at what do you need the most from your business? What can you get off your plate and how do you get the right person in? But it is absolutely possible to grow and scale your business virtually. If this is something that you're interested in and you're trying to figure out how to grow your business virtually, I would invite you to come join our Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group. It's called How to Run Your Business Virtually. And in there, I started it a few weeks ago when this whole pandemic hit. And then I was specifically thinking about software. And so there's several training videos in there about how to use particular softwares, but it's growing into a community where we can support each other in operating our businesses virtually. And especially when we're trying to figure out where we are right now in this pandemic world, what we're going to be in post pandemic, how can we be more efficient and effective and cost effective and still serve powerfully our clients? And how can we do all that virtually? I want you to learn from my mistakes of or learn maybe not mistakes but learn from my learning about what it took to grow virtually because I did make a lot of mistakes. I hired the wrong people at the wrong time. I bought into software, expensive software, at the wrong time. I wasn't ready for it yet. So there is a way to scale your business in a more successful way and to be very intentional about how you're growing that business. So it's absolutely possible. Come on into the Facebook group. There's a link in the description of this video. Come on into the Facebook group and share those challenges. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to help you however I could and maybe even address it in a future Facebook Live. So thank you all for joining me. Thanks for those who are live. Again, don't forget to share the video. Just checking the comments there to see if there's anything else. And if you've got any comments or questions, put those in the comments and after the video is over, and I'll come back and answer those later. All right, y'all, have a wonderful Thursday, and I will see you next week. Bye.